the meeting by standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes for the March 2nd, 2026 meeting. These minutes were distributed to the commissioners in advance of today's meeting. Do any of the commissioners have any changes to the minutes? Okay, seeing none, I move to approve the minutes of the March 2nd, 2026 meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Brubaker. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, unanimous. Strike that. So we have one abstention by Commissioner Dow. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the application 216463 concerning 118 to 120 North Wayne Avenue. And before we get into that, I'm going to recognize Commissioner Varenhorst.
Lane, I'm going to recuse myself from this and listen to the testimony. So it was one of my office's projects. So.
Understood. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, with this application, the applicant is proposing to raise and rebuild the existing structure at that location with a proposed three-story multi-use building consisting of 4 residential units, office uses, a restaurant, and retail space. The applicant was last in front of the Planning Commission on February 2nd, 2026, and at that time, the application was tabled at the request of the applicant. We now have updated review letters from Gannett Fleming dated April 21, 2026, and Gilmore and Associates dated April 24, 2026. And these letters contain numerous issues that will need to be discussed. And I'd ask the applicant to go through each of the letters and each of the points so that we can address each one. Is there a representative for the applicant?
Sure. David Falcone here on behalf of the applicant. Good to see you all again. I think this might be our 5th meeting in front of you guys all in, so hopefully we're getting there. So I appreciate Commissioner Vines laying out kind of what's going on here and the 2 new review letters we've gotten. We actually think we've made very good progress, and the issues on the letter are really kind of will comply insofar as no additional changes to the plan are being proposed. There, I think, are maybe 1 or 2 cleanup items, but as a general matter, we think the plans are in much better shape than they were the last time we were here. If you look at starting with the Gannett Fleming letter, now I have with me tonight the engineer and the architect who can probably speak in more specificity to some of the engineering, specifically the stormwater comments, but I'm going to walk the Planning Commission through kind of the letter in general and let you know kind of how we think we got to this point, and then when it comes to the specifics around maybe some of the waivers that we are requesting, I think it would be maybe prudent at that point to turn it over to the engineer for the project. So what we see on the first page of the Gannett Fleming letter towards the bottom are some items where the applicant appeared before the Zoning Hearing Board back in October and obtained relief. We were also in front of the Planning Commission prior to that Zoning Hearing Board meeting. We sought your recommendation for approval and then obviously went on to the Zoning Hearing Board and obtained that approval. So that's just a recitation of those items. The top of the next page, page 2, are the conditions of approval that were attached by the Zoning Hearing Board with respect to the relief we obtained, again, that being off-street parking and off-street loading. So those 4 conditions are conditions stated from the Zoning Hearing Board. Then we have, after that, a list of the waivers that we are requesting. I can speak to summarize those. The first being a partial waiver for stormwater pre-treatment prior to infiltration. Again, the engineer will be able to speak to exactly what we are providing on site, but that is, again, one of the waivers. The second waiver is, as the Planning Commission remembers, we are proposing a green roof as part of this project. At the last meeting, the Planning Commission asked us to expand that green roof. We have done that. we believe in significant fashion, and have further revised it even still to now meet, which would be the third item here, increase that capacity to 24 hours. So we're hoping that's going to satisfy that third item, because we are going to be able to get that 1 year to be at or beyond 24 hours for the green roof. But changes were made based on the recommendation of the Planning Commission. I think specifically Commissioner Golas offered us some information on that, and I believe we've gone a long way in that regard. The fourth waiver we're seeking here is when we're looking at the ground cover and taking the rates back to meadow as part of a new development. I think with respect to that condition, we're asking for a waiver, obviously. This type of development, this type of more, I think one of my consultants noted this is an urban development attempting to match a suburban ordinance. So in this condition where we have North Wayne, there's really no possible way for us to manage this stormwater in a way where you would have kind of an individual lot with excessive green space. So what we're doing is the best we can. We think it's a good faith effort using the green roof to try and capture as much stormwater as we can and control it. I think to meet the intent of the township's comprehensive plan to redevelop North Wayne in this type of a development, I think this is where any type of redevelopment in this strip is going to go. So I think, having read recent articles in the paper, this, in a lot of respects, is a test case for the township and how the township wants to see redevelopment along North Wayne. There's not going to be a situation where any person that owns a property here is going to be able to scrape it, go to meadow, and then control stormwater. It's a completely uncontrolled condition now, so what we can hope is that the people that come, whether it's this applicant or any applicant after him, they are at least innovative in their thinking and how they address stormwater on the site. So we think we've done that. I'm sure there'll be some discussion around that, but that's essentially that waiver. The next waiver is the same waiver that's been on the sheet for a while, and that's to consider this as a preliminary final. I think that's ultimately a decision for the Planning Commission as to whether or not you believe we've gone far enough. The waiver F on the sheet is, I think, a pretty customary waiver that is requested in Radnor, and that's what we show within 500 feet of the subject property. We obviously will work with the township, its engineer, and what the aerial we're going to show, whether it's sufficient, but we are requesting at least a partial waiver from that to show something less than 500 feet. The next being a waiver for an existing condition on the site. A portion of the existing alleyway is 13.8 feet. We have no ability to change that. The township requires a 25-foot area, so we are requesting a waiver to keep the condition as it exists today. And then lastly is a waiver for a rear yard buffer from the parking area. Again, you can see up on the plan, all of these properties kind of abut right against that rear property line. There's really no area there to provide a buffer based on existing conditions. So this would be kind of if we were seeking a variance, this would be a hardship based on an existing condition. We're not making it any worse. We are not making it any better. We are prisoner to the existing condition. Next, on the letter, we have the sewage facilities planning. We note that Mr. Phillips noted final approval can't be granted until we get that letter from DEP. We're aware of that and understand that. Next, you get into kind of comments that parallel the waivers we've just requested when we talk about the subdivision and land development code. You'll note in Mr. Phillips's comments where we've asked for the waiver that I just mentioned. So in number 1 there, it notes the applicant is requesting a waiver. Number 2, applicant is requesting a waiver. 3, applicant is requesting a waiver. 4 is an artificial lighting plan. We did submit that plan. We submitted our plans in basically 2 tranches. So that was in the second tranche. So there is a lighting sheet in the plan. So we'll wait for, I guess, review on that. Is that correct, Dan? Yeah. So the number 5 item and number 6 are simply monetary items. The applicant is willing to pay the fee in both of those. The fee's been calculated by your engineer, and we don't object. And number 7, we are waiting on the township with respect to the township's fire marshal, so we'll get some feedback from the township in that regard, and then we'll obviously be responsive there. And then lastly, number 8 is a waiver that we've requested. That was the 10-foot buffer. So I think probably all of the E&S items and the stormwater items, 1, 2, and then 1 through 4, to the extent they need to be addressed specifically, I think it would be best to be by the engineer. I'll just note on stormwater in number 3 that we have increased the capacity there to 24 hours, as noted. The remainder of the items are waiver requests. In the...
Mr. Falcone?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you,
No,
but
no,
now
please,
we're
I'm
on
glad.
erosion sedimentation controls number 2.
Yes, yes,
So I'm jumping ahead here a little bit, but,
yeah,
so in our developers agreement, it's going to say for Mr. Rice, you know, contractors, no parking on local streets. So, aside from the blocking of the parking spaces, we're going to ask you to show us where off-site
yep,
the contractors are going to park, how you're going to keep the sidewalk open through construction, right? So I'd rather bring these forward now than at a later date when the developers agreement, because I think the public needs to hear that, right? How you're going to keep the sidewalk open. You only have 4 spaces, so you're going to have to obtain parking elsewhere. And that also goes, what I've made your two predecessors is come up with a logistics plan, a staging plan for your demolition trucks, because we can't have 7 dump trucks staging on North Wayne Avenue at 11 o'clock waiting to get loaded with debris from the demolition. Same thing, we can't have 10 concrete trucks there that day waiting, so you're going to have to show that in a plan
yep.
as to where they're waiting off-site. So definitely want to get that started now,
Great.
sooner than later, and you're familiar with our
I am.
last
I
plan.
was waiting for this, Steve.
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't disappoint.
Yeah, you know, I appreciate that. Thank you. So lastly, in the general comments, we've got one, for general comment one, we have been to the shade tree. We are happy to go back. There's going to be kind of no tree disturbance, but we have been, as part of our sketch plan, to the shade tree. So they've seen this plan. We will add a note with respect to the type of dumpster being used. And lastly, again, we'll wait for that fire marshal feedback. So I want to turn it over now to the engineer who can speak specifically to some of the stormwater comments that y'all might have, unless you have anything for me. I doubt I can be of any help. So.
Hi, my name's Leslie Cunningham. I'm with Cornerstone Consulting and have worked on these plans along with my boss, John Anderson. He couldn't be here today, so you get me instead. I guess if I start with the waivers that David went through, but if I can just go into a little bit more detail about them. The first one, which basically addresses each section of the stormwater code, including, the stream bank requirement, the flood control requirement, the infiltration requirement. We are complying through the green roof with the majority of the code. There's certain aspects of it, such as when we get into flood control, when we take it back to meadow, that's what we can't comply with. Flood control from just a simple pre to post standpoint, we are complying with it. And that's why we're asking for a waiver of the meadow condition. Sorry, I'm kind of jumping around here too.
Let me ask you a question. You have somehow changed the roof from what it was proposed back in February?
Yeah,
Okay, can you tell us what changes you've made and how that affects this plan?
yes. So I think one of the comments from you guys was that to thicken it, to make it thicker. So we have 6 inches total of green roof material. That includes 4.5 inches of soil medium and then 1.5 inches of stone. And it's with the volume through the soil medium and the volume within the stone that we're able to comply with the majority of the stormwater code.
So what was it before?
3 inches?
Just 3 inches?
3,
Because now what did you say? It's 4 plus 1.5?
4.5 plus 1.5 of stone.
Okay, and before it was 3
3
inches
inches.
of soil?
Soil medium,
And no stone?
correct,
Okay, so you've added an
I
inch of,
believe.
you've added an inch of soil and added 1.5 inches of stone.
Yes.
So what's the change? What is the effect of the green roof now?
It will store more water on it. It allows for the, it allows for the evapotranspiration to take longer. It stores more so that the plants can use it longer over time. And it allows for essentially more ponding on the roof, which is what stormwater codes, whether it's an underground basin, the underground basin allows for ponding. So we're essentially, in New York City, they call them blue roofs. This is a combination of blue roof with green roof so that the water can actually be used by the plants and not just stored on the roof before entering the system.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, could I just ask a favor? I understand what you're saying, that it complies with most things, but could you correlate that to the waiver requests? I think that would help the board understand more. If you went down Mr. Phillips' letter and addressed each waiver from a stormwater standpoint, you're saying you're meeting most of them or you're meeting them partially. I think that would help the Planning Commission better understand what you can and can't do with the green roof.
Okay. Yeah, so the first one requests that the applicant demonstrates that the design process follows the sequence outlined in the code. The following items of this section must be addressed in order to comply. Number 1, satisfy the infiltration objective and provide for stormwater pretreatment prior to infiltration. Provide stream bank erosion protection in accordance with the code section. Conduct a proposed conditions runoff analysis based on the final design that meets the management district requirements. So the first one, satisfy the infiltration objective. We're asking for a waiver of that one. And that's because the building takes up 100% of the lot. There's nowhere to put infiltration in the plan right now. The next one is provide stream bank erosion protection in accordance with the code section. The stream bank erosion protection section, sorry. It requires the two-year runoff rate for your design storm to go back to your 1-year runoff rate. And then you're required to discharge that storm at least 24 hours, which that waiver of the 24 hours we are no longer requesting anymore because we can design it to be held within the small storms to be held on the roof for 24 hours and in excess of that. Then
Before you adjusted the thickness of the green roof, is that where the 17 hours came from?
yeah, it's all in the modeling of it, but yes, you're correct. With the increase in storage, you can increase more and hold more there.
But dialing back to number 1, which you said there's no room for infiltration, if you're scraping this to the ground, which I believe you are, would there be an opportunity to put infiltration in below grade?
In like a basement, in a storage,
Yeah, tank. A
Tank,
whatever.
in
you
the
call it.
basement
You call
or-
it basement, you call it storage,
or-
you call it tank. Something below grade that would hold water.
right? So there's a couple issues with that. So number 1, North Wayne Avenue does not have any storm piping in it, so we would not have a discharge to it.
It
Also,
would be the same discharge you're going to use now, is just going to be street water runoff.
well, the roof leaders obviously are up high, and they discharge down the building and then through the sidewalk into the gutter line of Wayne Avenue. If we go under, what?
Which I would say is street water runoff.
Correct. If we put a basin in, now your discharge and everything is going to be below grade in a basement. Our building does not propose a basement. But you can't have cover over your pipe and then also discharge at grade to Wayne Avenue at grade. And then, furthermore, even with infiltration here, if the soils don't infiltrate, which is very typical in urban developments like this, especially with soil that has had a building sit on it for years, we would still be before you asking for a waiver of infiltration.
So did you do an infiltration study on the soil?
No. We didn't do any infiltration.
Mr. Vines, if I
testing.
could add to this.
Please.
So if you look at the plan on what would be the west side or Plan West behind the building, there's a wall there, which are existing buildings, and there's also at the lower part of that, it falls off about 10 or 12 feet to what is the parking lot next to the movie theater down in that corner. So it's basically like the entire underground around these buildings are concrete. So there would be no way for the water to dissipate. And as she mentioned, that's below grade of any point where you could discharge unless you popped a hole through the concrete wall in the back and dumped it all down into the parking lot of the movie theater, which is not something that you want to do. So infiltration on this site is really not something, the green roof is almost, to a certain extent, replacing that. Not to the same volume, but kind of doing that in place of the infiltration.
Is there any potential for having any kind of system in the parking area underneath?
No. Again, because behind that building is a concrete wall, and below that is a 12-foot fall off. So no.
And there is some type of inlet behind the building in that parking area?
I don't believe there is, and this building will cover that entire parking area.
I meant
I thought there was an inlet that went back to the apartment building that's further back on West.
It may go down along behind the buildings that are adjacent to it. I don't believe it goes straight behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's like down 20 feet. It's not feasible or practical, not our property.
But currently, there's water runoff that comes from the property we're discussing to that other property that's not yours. Is that correct?
No, that's not correct, actually. So I believe we were mistaken in our last conversation. All the water runoff now is tied into the front of the building, last I was told. Is that correct? Yeah. So all the water runoff right now is actually going from the front of the building onto North Wayne Avenue. So it doesn't drain out back like we had thought. So upon further investigation, they corrected me on our thoughts there. So this green roof now is actually taking what we're doing and making it way better. And for Mr. Dow's comments, actually 17 hours was the amount of time for the new green roof. The old green roof, I think, was only, and do not quote me on this, but I think it was like 6. It was not very good. 17 hours is the new green roof, and with some further engineering upon this letter, we're able to get it past 24. So from the first time we were up here, I think we were somewhere around 6 hours, I think.
Yeah,
Do you remember?
Yeah.
You weren't on a project, but that's okay. We weren't there. 17 hours was the new one, but they said by changing some of the drainage system in the roof, they're able to spread it out even further to meet that 24. So we're going somewhere from 4, 6, 8 hours to 24 from last time we were here. So we've made real progress to put as much water on there. As I said, blue roof is something that's a new term to me before I ever started this project, right? To be able to get that water, hold it, and dissipate it as slowly as possible, especially compared to what's there right now, which is nothing, and just 100% runoff. So we kind of went through and did as much as we really possibly could to delay the water and do as much stormwater management as feasible for the site. The site itself is extremely difficult to work on because, as was mentioned, it's completely paved. The building's taking up the whole site. There's nothing to work with there right now. So we kind of really were handcuffed into doing this green roof to get as much as we could up there, to dissipate it as much as we possibly could.
If my memory is correct, the last time this applicant was before us, they were suggesting a green roof only. They had no blue roof concept built into the plan. And I know that blue roofs also do create cooling opportunities for the building as well as retaining water. So I think it should be noted that when they're saying green roof, they're really saying green blue.
Mr. Chairman, if the planning commission has heard on stormwater, I do have one question for Mr. Falcone. Mrs. Bogdanoff's review letter had a couple comments. I know there's duplication with the GFT, but under E3 and 4, if you could talk to those points, please?
Yep, we were going to get to that letter next, so.
Didn't want you to skip Leslie, that's all.
Yeah, no, we wouldn't. We were going to go through them kind of in one shot here. So, yep. So under the Saldo comments, you're talking, Steve?
Mr. Falcone, it's really just 3 and 4, because I think the rest you've already addressed or spoken to.
Under Saldo comments, 3 and 4,
Correct.
which is the off-street parking?
Correct. So the important thing is it said the consideration be given to limiting deliveries to off-peak times. There was supposed to be a note on the plan. It was indicated there was a
Yep.
note. That note needs to be placed back on.
Right, so it wasn't on there. I spoke to the engineers. They're obviously going to update that and put that note on. And the same with respect to the turning templates. I spoke with the engineer, and these are things that we will comply with. So there's no concern on our end to meet these limited comments.
Thank you.
Yep. So were we done with the stormwater comments?
Does anyone have any further question on the stormwater at the moment? Okay.
Okay.
So why don't you address next the, I guess it's the waiver H on Gannett Fleming?
Waiver H on
The
Gannett
waiver requesting 10-foot wide rear buffer.
for the rear buffer.
Yeah.
Yep, so again, I'll call Leslie back up, but there's a ordinance requirement for a 10-foot rear buffer on the property. Again, the building goes all the way to the rear of the property, but the entirety of really this back alley, you can see the location of the easement kind of encompasses that 10-foot buffer area as you come down the back of all of the properties into our property. And today, it's an existing paved area. So there's no buffer that we're removing today, landscape buffer of any kind. So
Can you just point out how the building is?
I was going to use the pointer. Wasn't going to work. It's not on the table. So the easement comes down here. Y'all are familiar with that. I think we talked about that in pretty extensive length, and stretches kind of this way. Now, again, just to kind of refocus the Planning Commission, I think in practicality, the easement, kind of access is taken more along this route. It doesn't follow the exact outline of the easement, but the easement is kind of where it is. The building itself is the grayed out area for our property here. And today, there is no, to the rear of the property, again, just to make sure I'm correct here, Dan, this is the 10-foot area, right, that's noted? And so there's no buffer there today or anywhere along any of these properties. It's a reflection of just the existing conditions of these properties as they sit today and how they utilize the easement. And how, again, we bring trash back there, cars back there, they all utilize the easement for access up to the ultimate easement, which gets them back out to North Wayne. But to encumber this area with a buffer, it can't be done with the existing condition, the way these properties sit.
I would,
Yep.
I would suggest that the encumbrance wouldn't, like, it would be easier, I agree, it would be easier if there was no buffer. But to me, that's not an encumbrance. Like, so to the people that live behind you, or whatever business or whatever properties are behind you, they wouldn't consider that an encumbrance on you. They would consider that
There's-
that's part of the code.
Excuse me, there's a parking lot directly behind that area.
I don't think that's really, I mean, sure, but that parking lot is owned by somebody, right? Why don't we ask him if he wants a buffer?
There's no reciprocal buffer. I think this is just
But I
infill
don't
urban
think- I don't think
development.
there has to be a reciprocal buffer. I think we need to talk about what we need to comply with.
Sure, so
And then when he changes his property, then he can comply with something different, or this.
Dan Chelino, architect. I just want to be clear about, there's a wall that we're proposing that's between our building and a neighboring property as well.
How high and what's it made out of?
It's planned to be 14 feet tall, so it's the height of the overhang in that area, and it'll match the building material in that back, so likely stucco.
So you're saying that the retaining wall goes up to where, because is it the second floor is coming out to the,
Yeah, let me try to point it out here. So this is a fully enclosed space here, this stair. And so the height of this whole parking area, which is overhung by the second floor, is 14 feet. And so we'll continue.
Currently overhung 14 feet or proposed? hung 14?
Proposed,
Okay.
overhung 14 feet. So we'll continue this wall straight back for the length of our property.
giving the other side just one continuous three-story wall? Because it attaches into the building? Is that what you're saying?
It then continues into the building, right?
So the back of the property just looks like three-floor building coming out?
Like any other party wall would, it's party to a neighboring property.
Current building is built out to that wall, right?
It is, yeah. So there's,
What's the height of the current wall there?
I don't have the exact height,
No.
but it's approximately,
Three stories.
it's 1 story,
One story.
approximately 12 feet.
So this would be 14-foot of wall, and then presumably there'd be, I don't know, windows above if it's the back of the property? or what?
No, we can't put windows up against the property line, so no windows there, but yeah, it goes up into the building.
Okay. All right, why don't we turn for public comment? Are there members of the public that wish to be heard? So please come forward and tell us your name and your address and provide your comment.
Good evening. My name is Mary Packer, and I live at 27 Fairview Drive, St. David's. I have to say that my comments tonight are relative to what has been published in the papers, current, out in the public, kind of, not anything specific to what I've heard tonight, because some of the things I've heard tonight, I would also have something specific to say, but I'm going to keep my comments to what I've seen published. I thank you for the opportunity to speak. I want to begin by saying that I'm not opposed to thoughtful development in our town. I understand that growth and investment are important to keeping a downtown vibrant. However, this particular proposal raises serious concerns about its scale, its impact on daily life, and the long-term direction it sets for our community. First, I'm concerned about traffic and safety. A 4-story building in the middle of our downtown block will inevitably bring a meaningful increase in cars, deliveries, ride services, and general activity. Our streets are already constrained, parking is limited, and many families and pedestrians rely on these areas every day. Introducing this level of additional density without a clear and detailed traffic mitigation plan puts both convenience and safety at risk. I would ask, has a comprehensive traffic study been conducted, and where exactly will parking be accommodated? Second, there is the issue of noise and quality of life. More residents, more activity naturally mean more noise, particularly in the evenings. The addition of roof decks raises this concern even further. Roof decks are not neutral features. They project sound outward and upward, allowing it to travel far and beyond the property itself. What might feel like a private gathering in one building can quickly become a disturbance for an entire neighborhood. This changes the day-to-day experience of living in our downtown in a very real way. Closely related to this issue is of privacy and intrusion. Elevated roof decks create direct sight lines into neighboring homes, yards, and windows. Residents who have lived here for years would suddenly find themselves overlooked from above. This is not a small change. It fundamentally alters the sense of privacy that people reasonably expect in their own homes. Another major concern is scale and architectural integrity. Our downtown works because of its human scale and cohesive character. Most of the surrounding buildings are lower in height and consistent in style. A 4-story structure would stand out in a way that disrupts that balance, creating a visual and structural mismatch. Once that scale is broken, it becomes very difficult to restore. It also risks creating a canyon effect along the street, which changes both the look and the feel of the area. This leads to a broader point. Precedent matters. Approving a project of this size and intensity sends a clear signal about what will be acceptable going forward. It opens the door to similar proposals, and over time, those incremental changes can fundamentally reshape our downtown. This decision is not just about one building. It is about the standard we set for the future of our town. I would also like to emphasize that there are constructive alternatives. Development can happen in a way that better aligns with our community. For example, reducing the height to 2 or 3 stories, eliminating or limiting roof decks, and ensuring that any project includes a clear plan for parking and traffic management would go a long way toward addressing these concerns. Design choices that reflect the existing architectural character of the block would also help maintain the integrity of our downtown. In closing, we all share the same goal: a vibrant, successful town center. But vibrancy does not come from overbuilding or from ignoring the practical realities of our infrastructure and livability. It comes from thoughtful, balanced decisions that respect both the future and the people who are already here. I respectfully urge the board to reconsider this proposal in its current form and to work toward a solution that better fits the scale, character, and needs of our community. Thank you for your time and consideration.
So before we hear from any further public, did you want to make a response?
I mean, just a couple of things I think up front. It's only a 3-story proposal, and it's entirely within the ordinance with respect to height. We are proposing, and we went over this, I think, in decent detail at the last planning commission, but the second floor office use is going to be owner-occupied, and there's only 4 apartment units, small apartments up top. We are providing parking for those 4 units per the code, and I think we had talked to the commission about that. The existing restaurant music venue use on the first floor today, we are hoping to bring back. Obviously, that's a tenant. They have to agree to terms and want to come back, but that is the owner's desire, is to bring them back. And then with respect to how we intend to, I think, utilize the space long-term and its impact, we took we took guidance from the comprehensive plan as to what redevelopment here looks like, and specifically addressing some of the rooftop concerns and the impact on residential neighbors. There is no residential home you have to go back all the way, I believe, to Bellevue, on the opposite side of Bellevue, to get to the first residential home. So there's no immediate, we're kind of not peering down into a neighboring residence. So we certainly were intended to be thoughtful here, but those are just some general statements. Again, the Planning Commission knows, but just to make sure we're clear for the record.
Okay. Thank you.
I just want to add a few things. The roof deck is not intended to be occupied. It's just for a green roof system. I shouldn't be calling it a roof deck. It's just a green roof system up there. So people won't have access to have events and party. There are balconies, yes. There's balconies on the third floor, but the top roof
Can you
doesn't have-
speak into the microphone if you would? And just for clarification, there are 4 apartments on the third floor, correct?
There are 4 apartments.
And each of the apartments does have a personal deck, is that right?
They do.
There is not an overall deck or, community
That's correct, yes.
gathering up there.
Yeah, and sorry, that was my clarification there.
Okay.
In each of those 4 apartment units will have their own parking space. There is a condition on the variance request for the office use that that office only has 6 employees. So just to address some traffic concerns there. And then I just want to bring up the architectural rendering to address some of the concerns about scale.
Okay, before you go to that, just to go back to the traffic, was there a traffic study done?
There was not a traffic study.
There was not?
No.
Is that something you're contemplating doing?
Oh, we haven't,
It was
no.
not required.
And let me just ask the Gilmore consultant, is that something that should be done?
So they do get credit for the existing uses that are there, which are essentially the first floor. So the office use and then the 4 apartment buildings do not meet the requirements for a traffic study.
Okay, so it's a combination of existing use
Right,
and,
so they get credit for the restaurant and the other use that's there today.
and the other use doesn't, or the additional use does not require a study for the additions of the second and third floor, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Additionally, there's altogether reduction of square footage of that first floor. So the restaurant, future restaurant use is less square feet than the current. And just to talk a little bit about scale, the intent in the building is on the third floor to step back, which I know you are all aware of, but I just want to address your comments. So third floor is stepped back 11 feet, and the second floor is approximately the same height as its neighbor to the south.
Could I just ask you on the rendering that you have there for scale relative to neighboring properties, is that first floor design with the awnings sort of relatively set at this point, or is there consideration to varying materials or sort of design further to kind of visually distinguish between the two?
I would say it's not set,
Okay.
and that
design
we would
review board
consider
still
some,
review?
yeah.
Yeah, okay. So just for the public comment, if this were to proceed, design review board would bring the applicant back for aesthetic review of the facade and the fit into the neighboring properties.
Okay. Are there other members of the public that wish to be heard?
Hello, everybody. Chris Todd, 108 North Wayne Avenue, Christopher's Restaurant. I'm here on 2 reasons, really, 2 concerns, or one concern and 1 comment. I've been here for about 28 years. I'm here really on behalf, especially with the parking in the back. and from further experience with my Malvern store, when you take an industrial, commercial alley and all of a sudden put 4 people, residents that will, no matter what, take ownership, you're just causing stress on everybody around. Tenants. This is an alley that is blocked by trash trucks throughout the day, deliveries, all that kind of fun stuff. It's a commercial alley. In Malvern, we had tenants that would yell down, would call the cops every Sunday because people were leaving and making too much noise at 9 o'clock at night. It took 10 months for that person to be evicted, but the cops every Sunday had to come. So you're putting a stress on the police, that kind of stuff. Now that I'm not foreshadowing, you never know what happens, but it's a huge strain, with that person that needs to go to 9 o'clock meeting, but they're blocked in. It's just something to think about with backstreet parking for commercial or for residents. Okay. My real big concern is the stormwater. No, I'm sorry, not stormwater. The soil and what might be there. Has there been a level 2 study done on the soil?
Yep.
Level 2?
Yep.
Oh, it's all good?
Yep.
Okay, because if there was any study done and it runs downhill, so.
I've had multiple studies done.
Okay, that's not my question. Is that somewhere? Is that public information or?
It's not public, but it was done and it was part of my loan requirement because I wouldn't have gotten a loan to buy the property if it wasn't good.
Okay, there we go.
Could we, I'm sorry to interrupt, Mr. Todd, but could we get a copy of that study, the township? Not to be posted. Thank you.
That's all, because I'm just down water.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah, no,
thank you.
everything was done. It was level 2 and it was drilled, it was tested, we're good.
Okay, are there other members of the public that wish to be heard?
While he's coming up, can I just follow up on the question of the study? Dave, it's Peter.
Peter, yes.
So as far as the history of the dry cleaning there, was this just a storefront or was actual cleaning happening at this location?
Oh, geez, I have no idea. I have no idea.
Okay.
Yeah, but I know that we did perform environmental testing after the dry cleaner left. So that was, we were working with the existing tenant at 118 to do some additional testing once the dry cleaner was gone so we could figure out if there was any issues there. So a follow-up examination environmental study was done after the dry cleaner left.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mr. Falcone, before you sit down,
Yes.
could you just clarify how that alley is used today, whether deliveries are taking place there at
So
this time?
Do you know? I don't know. I mean, there's activity back there. Employees do park back there. I don't know if any deliveries for any of those businesses take place back there, but the alley at the top, Commissioner Freeman, I think really dictates a lot of what can get back there because it's so narrow. We've discussed that, the trash truck concerns. To get kind of anything more significant in there and to turn back down the alley becomes problematic. So it's only, I think, 13.8 feet, and then whatever truck, if there were delivery trucks, would have to go to the back. I can just tell you from personal experience, driving down North Wayne Avenue, all of the restaurants appear to take their deliveries in front of their buildings, just because I happen to see them often. But I'm not speaking out of any beyond intelligence than that, so.
Yeah, I seem to recall prior testimony or what have you regarding trash being taken out to the front, rolled to the front with the dumpsters.
So I know that we've heard that they push their trash up to the easement, and then the trash truck kind of collects it up there. That's what I recall for a lot of that trash activity, that the trash truck does not come back down behind the units, that they essentially push their dumpsters.
The easement you're referring to is in the alley, though, correct? That the
There-
trash just go back the alley?
2 easements, yep. So the one that runs up the alley, I don't know.
Wait, the back alley or the side
Yeah.
alley? Let's
So we
point out.
have, if you can see my cursor, so here's North Wayne. You have the easement that comes back, that brings you back to the rear of the units, and then an easement that comes down. So you have 2 different access points. The easement in the rear, you do have the full width there. Again, I think it's used slightly different than the actual location, but there is activity back there. This easement, and I say this, but on the north end of the line of stores is more narrow. It doesn't meet the width that the township would want. So that, from what I recall, is prohibitive for some larger trucks to come in there and then make the turn and come down. So as I understand it, trash trucks kind of back into here, and folks move their trash up this way to meet that truck.
How do you plan to resolve the conflict between the residents and any commercial activity that may be taking place there?
So we don't necessarily believe there's going to be conflict. There's 4 residents, and people utilize this to bring their cars back there. If you go back and look today, there's cars parked back there. So I think Mr. Todd's comments are well made. Is there a possibility that you could have somebody block the easement and then block a resident? Absolutely. But I think that holds anywhere. People are using common access points. If somebody blocks the common access drive, it's problematic for everyone else that has to use that. That would be the same here. If somebody decided to come in here, to Mr. Todd's point, and block this easement up here and decide not to move, no employee or resident that would be parked back here could get out. I don't know how to address that other than what Mr. Todd would say. You would have to call the police and have the car towed.
But Mr. Falcone, you're referencing that's the way it is, but it's the way it is because it's a single lane, basically. If this was a 25-foot wide, as our ordinance requires, this is a moot conversation. So I think Mr. Todd's points are salient to this, right?
Yeah, I agree.
It's germane to the conversation because
Agree.
this could be a problem.
It's very possible somebody could block that 13.5-foot easement, yes. It's why the zoning hearing board suggested to us, well, do you have to give people parking spots with their, you have the 4, so you meet the ordinance, but maybe you don't let people park back there. Maybe you make people use public transportation. I think that's a stretch, right? But I think it's possible. If we have residents that don't need to take access, they'll see the access. I think this would be very different if we were trying to bring 30 residents here and bring them down this alley. It's 4 apartments. So I don't, and there's nothing this applicant or any business owner or property owner can do about the width of this easement. It's just, the easement is what it is. So we could say, we could follow the zoning hearing board's direction and not give our residents parking spaces back here. There's other options in downtown Wayne to buy parking. They could certainly do that.
Well, with regard to the parking spaces all along that area, I mean, this is just one of 4 businesses or properties.
5.
I was counting Teresa's as Dell.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
It's next door.
Yeah, I've been many times.
But I'm just saying, they all would be in the same, everyone who parks back there, those other 10 or so parking spaces would be.
Exactly in the same situation. Yep. Every user, like I said, whether it's an employee or whoever, if they're back there and trying to leave and somebody wants to lay across the 13-foot easement, nobody's leaving.
Okay.
With the easement that you mentioned and
I'm sorry.
how the easement differs from practice to sort of what's on the paper.
Yeah.
I'm personally a little more concerned with that conflict because the current behavior is to park up and down the left side in that easement. And if people do that, you can't get into your garage anyway, right? Because they're blocking the opening to your
Didn't
parking
we adjust
spots.
that so that we could take access? We widened the entrance yet. Why don't you address that?
Yeah, so, I mean, our goal is to comply with the ordinance and the code. So we do that, but we also provided space that, as it's being used today, we could still function and get cars
You
back
could
to our
still get
parking
in
spaces.
with the way. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in response to that, I don't know if you all remember, maybe during the sketch plan, our parking spaces were aligned differently. And we changed that alignment to address that very situation, to make sure that we could take that access kind of back in here. Originally, we had spaces back there that would have been problematic. So we've kind of opened this area now entirely so people can kind of be responsive to how it's used today.
Okay.
Yeah.
I could jump in. just real quick, and Dave might tell me not to, but we actually, like, so the existing building comes all the way back right now, right? So on the main floor, so we're shortening that, and we're actually adding more room for cars to maneuver back there than is there currently. So we're, by adding these, like this 3 and 4 spot where we are, right now, that's already existing building, so that's taken up. So there's less room to maneuver back there. And I'm not saying it's great, and I'm not saying it's not gonna be a headache. I'm sure there's gonna be some headaches for everyone. There are currently. It's a similar situation to everyone is in currently back there. And, you know, as we discussed previously, we have to follow the current easements and zones and follow the guidelines. In reality, we would like to keep everything functioning the way it is for everyone back there, right? And since we own this easement here, that gives us the ability to kind of have cars come in and go around and do what they need to do to function and keep it as it is currently. So really not try and interrupt the current businesses.
Thanks.
I made it up finally. Hello, my name is Michael Ellis. I'm the owner of Teresa's Cafe. So, a couple things. One, the access to the back alley and the parking. It's a nightmare. I don't even park back there. My employees that do park back there stay there all day. We move in and out occasionally, but there's delivery trucks coming in. Trash trucks, half the time my trash truck can't even get in there to get our trash cans. I get notices every other day they can't get in there. So as far as tenants parking back there for apartments, they'll never be able to get in and out. You're all welcome to drive down the alley, take a look anytime you want. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about, day or night, especially during the day. It's impossible. Now, he says he just left room for their cars to get in. There's this small little, I don't know how to do it on here, but there's that small little wall that comes out about halfway out in the gray area. And he says he has that one block so they can come in. Our cars come in right along the buildings to my right, which is one's a refrigerator, one's like a screened-in porch. And then everything to the left is all parking for our businesses, Paula's, myself, what used to be theirs. So as far as tenants parking there, it's going to be hard. It's going to be extremely hard. And then where's parking for people that are running the restaurant? Where's parking for people on the office in the second floor? And, you know, my other question is, and maybe I missed this at some point, what is your existing square footage of the building, the current building? Approximately.
It's probably about 4,500 square feet.
It's 3,800, I believe.
That's just for 118.
It's 3,800, I believe, isn't it?
Yeah,
Okay.
that would be 118 then, right? So
What
that's
is the
about
proposed
120.
amount of square footage you're going to put in with everything, between 3 floors?
It's about 15.
So where's all the parking coming from? Where are you getting the excess parking for all the extra square footage?
We already went through zoning relief.
I know, I'm just asking. I'm asking. Zoning relief?
Yeah, so
Okay.
we understand that the project as was proposed was deficient in parking by a fair amount. So we had to go and get relief from the zoning hearing board. And they said, provide your 4 parking spaces in the back for your residential units, and the rest of the uses will take parking in Wayne as every other kind of business would. They did put a condition on our office that it can't have more than 6 employees.
They're not going by square footage at all.
Well, they reviewed the whole plan. They reviewed the whole square footage.
So we
So
have
they
to bring
got,
that up with the zoning board, not with the
it's
planning
done. We were already in front of the zoning hearing board in October. We got that
board.
variance.
So they already got that variance?
Yes. So it was parking and loading from the zoning hearing board in October.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Also, I should note, there's no wall here. That's just striping.
It looks like a wall, that's why.
It does.
So what's
I
to the
asked the
right
same
then? What are
question.
the 2 blocks to the right there?
This is a pillar, right, Dan?
It's a column.
Yep.
Okay. Because they're going to have to come in somewhere towards the middle. I mean, I know you have that block there, but they're going to have to, as we talked about
Yeah.
before,
Yeah.
they're going to have to come in somewhere from the middle there.
Somewhere along, yeah, that's it.
Well, you know they'll be blocked by the alleyway, because I'm blocked constantly by that. Customers that park there, you know, not just trash.
Mr. Falcone?
Deliveries more than anything.
Yeah.
So just going back to what you were pointing at.
This here.
The little black square is a pillar?
Like a column for the building.
It's a column.
Okay. And the hash marks to the left and the hash marks to the right, what do those
Well,
represent?
this is striping.
It's just striping, it's not like a...
It's not a wall.
There's a render on page 4 of the May, I think, plans in the agenda that shows that view.
The next, the first tab.
This tab.
on the, you just passed it, on the right there.
Oh, yeah, that should, yep.
So, Commissioner Vines, here's that pillar I'm discussing. I'm kind of circling with my mouse. And then this would be that open area to the back. Yeah, but I also had questions about that striping. I thought it was a wall, so. Learned a little something.
Okay, do we have additional comments from the public? Please.
I can go back to that other plan for you. Yep, yep. There you go.
Hey, everybody. I want to keep it quick and not repeat, but real quick about the alleyway.
Can you just state your name and?
Yeah, oh, sorry, Andy Dickerson, also of Teresa's Cafe, a partner there for 29 years. The main alley between the building and the Suburban that goes out to North Wayne is the issue for residents. I came to you guys with this before. Residents, give it to the office, give it to whatever you want. Residents will not be understanding, like businesses have shared this alley for 30 plus years. I was blocked out this morning at 9 a.m. by someone picking up a bagel. I was blocked to leaving at 1 o'clock when Spread was getting their wood delivery. 2 examples. All day long. I know you're afraid to give variances because it'll set precedents for all the other planning and development projects and zoning and everybody after you. This is one, you give variances out sometimes. They ask for a lot of variances. I'm kind of asking for their variance to make my life easier, selfishly. I know you have to do it formally, but that's my issue with that. Right now, when you guys were talking about the wall to the rear earlier, only one of the 2 properties now actually goes all the way back. So the wall, just to clarify your understanding, since no one walks back there, the dry cleaner stops where all the other businesses does. So the wall will be whatever height further down through their easement, more than normal. But to go back to precedent, as our resident noted, my fear of this project is the precedent of disruption. If we're not doing all of these complicated, large builds in a shorter time, we're causing a lot of disruption. Say this only takes a year. Hope it does. Then another one starts for 3 floors. Then we do a streetscape. All of these disruptions, not organized in a timely fashion, will change human behavior. You guys all live around here, clearly, or you wouldn't be here. I do as well. I might be a quarter mile into Tredyffrin, but this was my town growing up. I rode my bike here to pie in the sky and everything else back in the day. People around here, your neighbors, if they don't like the eyesore, they're going to go to another town center, they're going to go somewhere else, and then their habits are changed. So if we keep having constant recurring development projects and construction on the street, not just this one, progress is going to happen. I'm not trying to stop it. But like Steve said, let's not have 10 cement trucks and dump trucks all at the same time. Let's figure out how this works smoothly to make the progress happen. Not prevent it, but mitigate that disruption, because people around here, all the parking studies are accurate, but the residents don't see that because they can't park on the street or in the lot they know. They're not walking across 30 or the beautiful lot we built on West Ave. The residents aren't walking that far. It's the human factor that we need to think about when we're, from not just this project, but moving forward, is how we re-streetscape, how the master plan comes to be to mitigate the damage, and changing the people's habits around here is what I'm worried about. Because once they leave and you're out of their rotation, they find somewhere else. So I'm not against this project as a whole. The alley, maybe. But they seem to have mitigated if you guys make them follow through with what they've said. Parking is always going to be an issue. We're not building a garage tomorrow to solve all the problems. Unfortunately, that's been a 40-year conversation. It's how this is handled and how we keep not just this project, but every project to reduce the impact. You know, there's 2 Township Run Street events, 2 WBA Run Street events on the street that are very, very popular. Make this town part of what it is, give it that charm, kind of towards the architecture conversation. We're the first town center, according to the Radnor Historical Society. Now, people go to other town centers. Let's just make sure we mitigate the problems as least, minimize the problems with this. But again, You're afraid of the parking variance precedent that I request for them. I'm afraid of the precedent that every landowner is going to go, I can put 4 floors up and have another disruption. It's when it comes across the street.
3 floors.
3 floors, sorry. If the roof isn't used, you know. So anyway, that's it.
Commissioner Kim, just to address the concerns around precedent, could we just get a quick recap of where the Wayne Master Plan efforts are? Any general timeline or status that would be useful?
I do recall that there is a meeting coming up, the 15th, I'm told. We recently convened the Technical Advisory Committee about a month back. We workshopped some ideas actually regarding the parking lot across the street, and to think of that as more of a plaza and open space to create a more of a pedestrian-friendly sort of activity center in downtown Wayne. To answer your question, Commissioner Dow, I think the timeline is sometime this year that they would wrap up the master plan. Please correct me if I'm wrong, Steve.
Yes, sir. I think we'll be done in a few months, so maybe Q3, somewhere around there.
Okay, thanks. I just think it's a critical element of addressing the general concerns that probably everyone in the room and a lot of residents I speak with share, which is that what is the precedent that we set? What are the contexts that we set? I mean, this project didn't introduce a 3-story height limit in Wayne's zoning, right? That's part of the zoning already. It certainly requests certain waivers and variances from parking requirements, but the Wayne Master Plan effort with adequate resident participation and business owner participation will drive the precedent for Wayne more broadly. This project on its own is the only active one that'll kick off and complete before the plan is concluded, right? So it's really on us and the Board of Commissioners and others in the township to participate and to put into action the voice of the community as we try and sort of put guardrails around the future of Wayne, right? But it's not really something that we can fully enforce on one project that's following the height requirements that are currently written into the code. So it's a tough position for everyone to try and sort of approve projects and fuel change and growth with incomplete initiatives elsewhere, but the code is what it is. The easement, despite how it's practically used today, is the easement that it is. So I don't mean to be insensitive to any of the owners or anyone, but to say that residents won't like it when it's not used in compliance with how it's shown on the papers is a tough position for me to sort of take into consideration to deny an application, right? The owner here, I think, is being pretty accommodating to some of the legacy of behaviors and habits and neighborly sort of considerations for the easement and for other things, including the green roof, to sort of alleviate some of the stormwater concerns. So it may not be perfect in everyone's mind. What's there now doesn't have a green roof. What's there now is an alley that's difficult to navigate. I think if we want to define what perfect or close to perfect looks like for the community, then we have to put our time into the master plan and get it right there. So, thanks.
Okay, do we have other members of the public?
Hi, I'm Carolyn Swisher. I work at the Warren Clayton Architects office directly next to it, so at 114 North Wayne. We have a shared wall with this property. So I do have some questions. The parking, like everyone else said, I do think is going to be a big problem in the back. Speaking architecturally, a 9-foot wide parking spot, while it does satisfy the requirements, you're up against the wall. So you have a 7-foot car that's designed for, you've got 1 foot to open your door. That's not practical, but if the tenants are fine with that, so be it. The parking to get in and out, the radius is, again, very tight. I think you're going to do like a 5-point turn to try and get out of there. But, you know, if you guys approve it, so be it. I also agree that they're constantly blocking of the alley, so they will have tenants upset about that. So, again, that's for them to work through. My question is the sound transfer. So right now there's a 118 North is loud. Are you guys putting things in the design to keep the noise contained? I mean, at 4 o'clock on a Wednesday, we hear the sound going. Also, sound and disturbance during construction. We've got a wall that's shared. My office directly next to that. What are you guys doing if the wall starts cracking, or, you know, what are you doing for that? So I would just like to understand that. And then architecturally, I know this is not really what you're doing now, but to think ahead, as they've mentioned, it's an old town. That's why people come here. The charm, when you put these large glass fronts on the first floor, that's okay. It kind of matches the other stores. The second floor, I feel like the scale of those windows is far too large. There needs to be some thought for the second floor windows to kind of bring down the scale. Green roofs, love it, but who's going to maintain it after 2 years? Is there some, is there some requirement to make sure that it is maintained? I did see in the paperwork it said for the first 2 years, but beyond that, I just want to make sure that it is maintained to a level so that it's actually collecting water. And then when you are thinking about parking, there are, as we said, there's 10 parking spots back there. They're not legal, they're in the easement, but just consider that when you're thinking about adding parking on site. Those 10 cars, maybe 6 cars have to find parking somewhere else. So there are implications, but I do appreciate that people are developing the project. You know, that cleaner's been empty. I like to see things full, and that's great for the community, but I do want to address some of those things. And then what's the general construction timeline? Is it a year? Is it 2 years? I don't know if you guys have any idea of.
Can you come up to the
I just mean more
microphone?
disturbance to the community.
I can give you some answers to that off residential construction, and really it's going to be, you know, township building and timelines, right? But when I do a residential construction project, I'm able to do foundations, footings, and get a house closed in about 4 months from when I break ground. This is a larger scale project than that, but when I was working through my timeline, I have it, if we do efficiently and we keep the inspector efficient and I don't have to wait a long time between inspections and we do the right things and we keep it moving, I would think we should be able to build and construct this building in 5 to 6 months to close in the building. No, that's not complete the building. That is not complete the building. That is do demo, pour foundations, and get in where all the work will then move inside the building, right? The real concern here, I think, for everyone is going to be how long are we shutting down the parking spaces out front? How long is it going to take to demo? How long is it going to take to actually pour the foundations and get the building? That is about that timeline. Dan and our engineers have worked on really good plans to actually be able to do this. Executing everything and doing this in residential, I build homes residential. I built 27 homes in the last 3 years, right? I have almost 20 rental properties that I own and maintain. I'm used to maintaining properties, I'm used to building properties, right? When you have a good stage construction plan and someone who does this all the time and is local, you can keep things moving, right? I don't like things to sit empty. It costs me a lot of money for things to sit empty. So the plan is when we have our staging plan, which we have to go through, and it's been futile to complete a full staging plan without actually even having a recommendation from the Planning Commission. It's a lot of money to burn to put everything together. The idea to put the staging plan together is to keep it moving. So the goal would be in those 5 to 6 months to actually have the exterior of the building complete so we can move construction inside. Now, things take a little bit longer, but it's not going to be a 1 year on the exterior. That's crazy. It's going to keep moving because we have to put the pilings in, we get it, we build, everything comes through. You do that very quickly. The important part of this project is the demo. I think we all can acknowledge demo is going to be the most important part of this entire project. It's an old area. We need to hand demo this. I'm not bringing in a wrecking ball. I'm not doing this carelessly. It's going to have to be a hand demo, likely from the center of the building outwards. So we go piece by piece, slowly, to keep the integrity of the other buildings surrounding it. I think the plan calls to build temporary walls on next to the buildings. Was that correct?
We haven't gotten that far.
Yeah. I've been discussing other plans. We're trying to build temporary walls next to the existing walls to keep everything supported properly, right? So that's where the time and effort's going to come in. And the longest part of this project to do it right is going to be the demolition. because it has to be a ton of manual labor to do it right. Once that's done, we can fly with our staging plan and keep everything moving. Those are contractors who do this day in, day out. This isn't the AT&T redevelopment. I'm not building anything crazy. This is like building a Manning row home, right? This is a small building for commercial scale to build. It's important, but I build homes that are almost the size of this building that are a lot more intense to build because you're covering 6,000 square feet on the ground to build those, right? This is relatively a straightforward project. The important part comes with the demo and the care and the demo. And that's what we have to do correctly. Yeah, and we are proposing sound mitigation for the music venue as well.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, I'm Karen Leslie. I'm the owner of Be Devoted. I just moved into 112 North Wayne Avenue, 2 doors down. I have a few concerns. I love developing. I lived in Colorado. I know new development. Was also married to a commercial realtor, a real estate agent, so I know about easements and everything. I'm very concerned that this project will take a lot longer than we think it will take. We never know about the weather. This year we had ice and snow that was unexpected, so that leads to more problems and bigger timelines. We are looking at the amount of work that I had to put in to just get my sign for Be Devoted. Took almost a year, and I can't even put a garment rack out front in my store, yet this is a proposal to say there will be no easement. He gets to use 100% of his property. It just seems like there's a lot of fluidity on one project and not everyone else's. And I moved to Wayne because I had a call from a lot of my customers who are 50 and over to, we need a place to shop. And so I brought in a women's boutique, jewelry, men's clothing. Everyone walks their dog. People walk around Wayne. And there's going to be a big problem when it comes to parking. And just the other day, you guys switched the parking to 2-hour minimum on North Wayne Avenue. Now, I don't know how you can have lunch at Christopher's or Teresa's and then come shopping at Be Devoted. That's not enough time. So not only have we cut out the 50 and older customer who can't understand the kiosk for parking, they've been turned off by, now they only have 2 hours. So I'm looking at it as an economic standpoint. I love growth. I'm all for building all those things. But I'm looking at a realistic 1 to 2 year issue on North Wayne Avenue. I'm thinking also on the lines what Teresa's owner said, you know, you're going to start changing habits. Me as a boutique, they're going to go to Ardmore. They're going to go to Haverford. They're going to go to Bryn Mawr. They're not going to shop in Wayne. What I find is most of our customers want to walk, I don't know, 10 spaces. That's it. If they can't get parking, they're very concerned. And when I hear that this is building, you know, it has 0 easement, my first thought was, oh no, storage, drainage and sewage, because I'm downhill. I have a 2-floor store. It's 4,500 square feet. So that is a concern for me, to have flooding and trash and noise and all of the things that everyone else has said earlier. But more importantly, I think parking is the key. I think I heard, you know, it's a lot of money to put out for reporting and, you know, consultants and everything. Well, we're going to lose a lot of money, and it's not part of our project.
At this stage, right? Like when we get there, we're going to do all of that. We have a full staging.
So if you're gonna respond, can you come to the microphone?
I'll stop. I'm sorry.
That's okay. And then I wanted to talk about with the apartments, they may be small. How big are the apartments? 800 square feet. So 800 square feet, most likely a couple, right? So that's 2 cars per home, not just one. And then the person that works there, how many people, how many offices?
So.
Hold on.
Yeah, I'm going to answer your question, but I have to do it here. So we can't have more than 6 people in the office. That's a condition of zoning.
Okay.
So it's a condition.
Okay, so 4 apartments with 2 cars, that's 8, and then 6, so that's 14 cars. So that's a lot to add, just to our little area.
So just to clarify, the apartments have the 4 spaces in the back. So the-
Correct, but they have 4 spaces, but most couples have 2 cars, right? So that's 1 more car. Where are they going to park?
If they have another car, they'll have to get parking for that. They can't just
Okay,
leave it on
and
the street.
what if they have a dinner party, or they have friends over, or they have a child,
Well,
or a
that
teenager?
would
I
go
mean,
for-
we're saying a lot. I mean, you can laugh, but it is realistic for me to think of those things. It's our livelihood. It's the people on the street that are right there that matter. Because we're also paying taxes. We're the ones supplying the community and the feel for the area. So please don't laugh. And so in offices as well, there's no staff, there's only, so that all adds up. But I guess I will move on. Thanks.
Okay. Are there any other members of the public?
George Packard, 27 Fairview Drive, St. David's. Not familiar with this process. Occasionally, my wife and I come. I'm just curious, that limit of 6 in the office, is that permanent forever? Because that looks like a lot of square footage to me. I'm naive, not an architect, to only have 6 people. I'm impressed that you would only have 6 people.
Yes, it's a permanent condition. It's a zoning condition for the use.
So it is forever. Okay. I mean, as we all know, forever is not forever, but that will be written in, right, forever, till the stars fall from the sky.
So I think
Because
it's part of the zoning
No, I'm going with the
waiver.
parking thing here, and I agree with people who own properties and do business in Wayne. I'm a lifer. I mean, there is no parking in this town. Pull up at 5 or 6 o'clock and look at all the Uber, Lyft people double parked, triple parked on North Wayne Avenue to pick up meals. I mean, you guys know it, and this is just going to add to it. I mean, it's your I don't envy your responsibility, but it is your responsibility to make sure this happens in a rational way. You're putting the cart before the horse. Parking's a necessity. Then you can talk about extra development and extra density. But until you do, you're just creating more problems down the line, I think. Thank you.
Okay, do we have any other members of the public?
Am I allowed to ask a question even though I already spoke?
Yes? Please.
I'm curious, I can't work the computer, but the schematic for the building.
One we showed already?
The pretend building.
Yeah, so is it one we've showed?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry. It's just as it fronts the street and what it's going to look like.
Yep, so
Perfect.
this one?
Yes.
All righty.
So my question is, it appears that the first floor in the recommended or proposed building is higher than the building next to its first floor. And the second floor of the proposed building also appears to be higher than the one next to its second floor. So I'm curious if a variance was granted for higher ceilings in this new building that were higher or different than our standard?
It
And then
just
why would
covers
that look
total
so
building.
distorted?
Yep.
You got to take into account the grade, I think. So I don't know the answer to the variance question, but you got to keep in mind, if you're looking at the building at the left, right, you're uphill or downhill, yeah.
So there's no real meaningful difference in the height of each of the floors in the proposed building versus those that exist?
Yep, no variance was needed for the height of the building or any floors inside of the building. Everything with respect to scale is per code.
Okay. And what comes up behind that green roof is that
All per
third
code.
floor
Yes,
apartments?
yes. So what you see at the top that stepped back, this is where the living space is, residential on the top. This is your office space, and this is your retail.
Okay, all right, because it gives the appearance of being larger, so I wasn't sure if a variance would be
Understood.
granted.
Yep.
And so as regards, though, my last little comment is the green roof, there is space for people to be on top of the green roof, right? Out? No? Not allowed?
At the s-
Prohibited? Positively prohibited? Because you know, if you give a mouse a cookie,
Are there
Be- be-
doors to the green
Because of
room?
our efforts to, because of our efforts to mitigate the stormwater issue, we've
going to-
covered
right.
the entire top deck with,
to
with,
compensate.
with
I
green
get that
roof,
part.
yeah.
So there's no
So we would
chance
have to
that
go-
somebody would be able to occupy in any regard, whether it was for an hour or an evening, any of that space on that green roof. Is that correct?
That's correct, yeah.
That's all I wanted.
Is it accurate that that would kind of destroy the green roof if anyone
They
stepped?
start stepping on it, right?
It would, yeah, the medium that we're using, it would,
Yeah.
it would be
It's
detrimental.
not like, it's not like it's not like a field up there.
Okay, just wanted to be.
The apartment decks are on the,
Thank you very much.
Sure, sure.
Thanks for
the
your-
apartment decks are on the second floor at the location where the setback is.
Yes, sir.
Myself also,
Yes.
and not directly related to them, but to the planning commission, with the idea of what you're looking for, the town of Wayne. You expect every building to look like this in Wayne, 3 stories high? Could I go 3 stories high, where I'm at, Teresa's Cafe?
Technically, per the current zoning, you'd be able to go 3 stories high. Is it what I want for all of Wayne? No, it's not.
But
And I
that's
hope
in
the master
planning-
plan
that's
changes
in the
it.
planning stages, that everyone should be 3 stories high, right?
It's in the zoning currently that the height would be allowed to be that same height.
What is that current height, that overall height?
I believe it's
That-
38 feet. or
For the
something.
zoning, I mean, do you
Yeah,
know the?
38 feet.
I'm sorry, 38?
38 feet,
38
yeah.
feet? And could there be a basement in them?
I'm not sure. I'd have to check.
I'm just wondering, 'cause
Yes.
I'm getting ready to decide what I'm doing with my business. I'm thinking going 3 stories high there. So,
So if I can interject, just so everybody understands, the planning commission staff, we have to live within our ordinances, right? It's not what we want, it's not what we think, it's not what we may happen, it's what the ordinance says, and as the commissioner noted, he stated fact. So, I mean, and it's no disrespect to you, but some of the questions you're asking are code questions, which he gave valid answers to, but some of the questions are subjective. They can't be subjective, right? They just got to follow the ordinance.
my reasoning for that comment was, you're all the planning commission. You have influence, obviously, on what's done in this town. So imagine every building up and down North Wayne, Lancaster Avenue that's allowed to go 3 stories high. We've seen it on Lancaster Avenue already. We're becoming a small city.
100% I understand, I agree with that is allowed. So we have the comp plan that was approved, right? And there's certain items in there that talk about density and height. We have the Wayne Business Master Plan, which I know you're fully aware of. From those will be coming a zoning rewrite. That's going to be a very public process when that occurs, and it's going to involve, not just you folks, but folks from all around the township for their input at public, at public meetings. And that's where, if things change, that's where they'll change, is when that zoning rewrite occurs, right?
To be clear then, Mr. Norsini, the process, if we, residents of the community, did want to change the zoning and the code, would be that they participate in the master plan for Wayne that's ongoing, that master plan recommend reduced building heights in Wayne on North Wayne Avenue, or reduced window sizes on North Wayne Avenue, or certain material conditions. That recommendation would then come to us to then recommend certain zoning code changes that the Board of Commissioners would sign off on. And then the next project that comes in, if that were to happen, would be subject to those conditions. Is that, those are the steps?
Pretty much. So the comp plan put forth what the folks that participated in thought should be, all right? The Wayne Business Master Plan is the same, and there's been a lot of focus, obviously, on the business owners such as yourself, of what the people want, what you want to see in Wayne. Those two things are taking in tandem, and then the zoning rewrite is a separate process based on the comprehensive plan, based on the Wayne Business Master Plan, based on resident participation, Planning Commission participation, Zoning Hearing Board, and ultimately the Board of the Commissioners will make those decisions. But your concerns are valid, there's no doubt about it, and as it currently sits, a lot of this could occur. So the time to make that known is now, and when the zoning rewrite comes, I hope you're there. And I hope you speak and say, this is my concern, because I think it's not just your concern.
It's not. I'm sure it's many people in the town.
And that's where I'm going.
And my point is, this building sounds like it's going to happen before all that's ready. So this will set the precedent. That's my point.
You can change, you could change the precedent. In other words, it might set it
Right.
temporarily, but
Right.
not forever.
He's ahead of that process. So,
Right.
so it's just my point. Thank you.
All right, just two quick things. When, Steve, do you think that process would happen?
For the zoning?
The zoning? Is that a year? Is that more than a year
So
from now?
it takes, by the MPs, it's going to take a year to happen. We don't have our consultant picked for that, or the board doesn't have, the Board of Commissioners picks a consultant,
Right.
so that will be some time. So the gentleman is correct. If this project does get approved, and that's not a decision from here, that's ultimately from the Board of Commissioners. If this project gets approved, that will be ahead of that zoning rewrite.
Right. So I think, speaking as an architect, I agree that it is by right, but I think you might get less pushback from the community if you just bring down the scale of some of the things, especially the second floor. I think one of the neighbors had a comment about the windows being so large. Like, I'm in that office to the left, and there's detail in the facade. It's not just these big modern windows. So I think just consider that, maybe bring it down, and you'll have a little less pushback. But I know it is by right, so you can do what you want.
Okay, are there any other members of the public who wish to be heard? You have another comment? Okay, please. Okay.
My only comment would be, we have the cart before the horse.
I'm sorry?
We have the cart before the horse. We're considering something that will forever change North Wayne Avenue and probably all the surrounding streets. We have work underway to find out what the public and business owners want, but yet we haven't given it a chance to follow through and consolidate the information to see what their wishes are in terms of height, width, all of that. It seems to me that we're moving too quickly.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
would just note that what you're talking about is beyond the purview of this board. And if you want to make that point, you make it to the Board of Commissioners, because they ultimately have say over everything in the township.
And furthermore, this project is grandfathered in. There's nothing the township can do to stop it. If they show that they meet our ordinances, they have a right to be approved. It's not discretionary. It's not something where we can say we don't like it. If they meet the ordinances under state law, we are required to approve it.
Sorry, I was nervous before. I have one more question. How are they going to address the dumpsters and the demolition in front of North Wayne Avenue? Where is the debris going to go? Where's the construction dust, noise, everything?
So all of that is controlled through Mr. Norsini's office. We have to work with the township. We have to meet codes. There's going to be requirements on the owner and all of its consultants and all of its contractors to satisfy all of the requirements of the code and the building code. So we will have to go through all that normal process. Every consultant or contractor that comes onto the site is going to be held to the same requirements everybody else is in the township. But Mr. Norsini has a pretty strict construction oversight, so I don't think anything's going to sneak by.
Do we have any more comments from staff consultants? Okay. So going off the last comment that you made, I would note that this is it's a new type of project, especially for North Wayne. It's a significant project. It has implications along those lines, and especially, given the comment letters as well. The first thing that occurs to me is not moving forward on a preliminary final basis, regardless of what we do. And with that, I want to take the temperature of the commission to see what type of motion we may make, especially if we keep it to a preliminary approval with conditions. Do I have thoughts, discussions on that idea?
So I think we've taken a considerable amount of time tonight to hear the residents, and also while working within the constraints of our code as it exists, the applicant has certainly made extensive presentations over the times that we've seen them, and we are constrained by the fact that this project is primarily compliant and has received variances for the things that they're not compliant with. So I think what remains at this point would be the waivers, which have been discussed tonight. I feel that personally that the applicant has resolved a lot of the waivers, and the other waivers we typically grant. So I would be inclined to approve preliminarily and grant the applicant the waivers that they're requesting.
Okay. Do we have comments from other commissioners?
I'll just add, I would agree with sort of not going preliminary final. I don't see a reason to kind of rush through steps on a sensitive project of this nature. Similarly, kind of as confined by the code and the variances they've already received. I mean, they're sort of within reason in my view. To provide context, I mean, I agree putting the cart before the horse to some extent. There was also a Wayne master plan in 2006 that said building height should be 42 feet tall. So, I mean, we don't know the outcome of the master plan until it's published, and we don't know the final verdict until the community participates. And at that point, we'll be able to operate accordingly. I really hope a lot of people come out and give their voice to the master plan. So, I mean, I appreciate the third floor setback. I appreciate the green roof. I agree with the scale of the second floor windows and the design details of the first floor on the facade could be sort of more maybe thoughtfully kind of integrated and accommodate, the neighborhood or the block. But yeah, I mean, for me, a preliminary would be sort of fine given, all the other comments.
I agree with that last statement. I also want to point out to everyone, if they look carefully at the very most northerly building there, that looks to be about the same height almost as this building right here on the drawing. There's a faint outline, I guess that's Great American Pub or something like it. Maybe the bagel store has 2 stories that high on top. But it's not going to destroy the whole street. It does change it though substantially. I agree with that.
I would just add, from the design perspective, I would think taking some consideration of how it could fit. There's nothing wrong with this design, but it does seem a little out of place in just its nature to an older, old-fashioned sort of, suburban town center. So I do appreciate the setback of the third floor because I think that diminishes from that canyon effect that people were talking about, and it's not grabbing every last thing that you can out of what you're allowed, and I think so. I wanted to point that out as I think from what we've seen, there's been a lot of effort to accommodate, input, and I, for one, truly appreciate the green roof approach and the green blue. I wasn't really familiar with that blue, but it makes sense you're basically putting your infiltration tank or your tank up there under the green roof, and that is definitely better than what is there, and that's the kind of thing that I always look for. You can't maybe comply completely with things as they are, but what are you doing within your power to make what's there better? And this is definitely a step in that direction. So from a general standpoint and within the purview of what we can and can't do, I think this is a definite preliminary, and I think because of everything, it's not a preliminary final situation.
And just either ask the applicant or Mr. Falcone, just to clarify, is the facade design something that you're willing to work
Absolutely.
on?
Yeah, of course.
And think about?
Of course, yeah. And I think we have to appear before the DRB, and we'll hear that feedback, and we're hearing kind of all of it here. So absolutely, it's something we'll work on to get better.
Okay, very good.
For sure.
So,
go ahead.
So, I'm going to tag on to like a bunch of comments, but as far as the facade goes, I agree that as we look at this front facing, it doesn't appear to fit, and it would be nice if it fit a little bit better. But that being said, we also need to move forward, so we can't make it look like the 1940s, because that's essentially, so we have to deal with that, and I agree. As far as the height, there's the zoning, and that's going to be taken in, but the Great American Pub is, by grade-wise, the Great American Pub is probably 15, 20 feet higher grade-wise. So, so we're going to have to figure out what the standard grade is, or, what the average grade is, to figure out what that's going to be. And I would also say that while, as the, solicitor said and everything, there's going to be a new design review coming out, but we can't wait around necessarily. We can't just be like, let's wait till 2028 when the new code comes out. That it's 2026. We need to move forward. Aside from that, I think that it would suit preliminary, but not preliminary final.
Yeah, just one last comment, Chairman. So I really appreciate everyone's comments here. I think if I can go back to what Steve said, I think the flaw is in the process here, because we are a board designed to just review one application at a time. Unfortunately, we can't sort of talk about the big picture, where we have a lot of support for reinvestment and renewal in downtown Wayne, and then within that context, talk about projects like this. So I believe that, the applicant has actually has gone above and beyond most other applications that we've seen, and have met with us at least 3 times that I can recall, and actually took our comments and changed their design and came back to us with sort of, improved an application, which I think shows that the applicant is willing to work with the community. This is not the final say, by the way. So what we do is just recommend to the Board of Commissioners, and there are many more steps in the process. So please continue to be engaged, but I also hope that in future meetings, we have people supporting projects like this as well.
Okay, any other commissioner comment? Mr. Falcone, just to clarify, do you have a couple issues on the consultant letters that you were following up with, that you were waiting for clarification, or
Yep,
you're
so-
going to clarify, including, I think it's, lighting, turnaround,
So there was a
fire?
lighting plan in the submission. Again, we had made 2 submissions, so I think maybe it got missed in the review because of the way we submitted our plans. But there is one there, a lighting plan. That was one of the comments. A second was the fire marshal letter. I think we'll wait to hear back. I think that gets kind of generated from the township and then given to us based on our plans. So we are kind of, we'll wait for that. There was a cleanup item, I think, on the Gilmore letter that I think Mr. Orsini was kind enough to point out earlier, and that was with respect to a note. I'm trying to get to my, when Steve interrupted earlier, my papers got out of order now, and so I have to.
Any way I can help, Mr. Falcone?
Thanks. So 3 and 4 here, one had to do with a missing note. We are going to update that, and then the other was to handle the maneuvers. But those are will comply items that we will comply with. There's kind of no substantive change that's going to come back or change the plan for purposes of that. So we would obviously accept the normal condition of recommendation from you all that we comply with the letters that have been submitted by your consultants. We have no issues or concerns with those compliance points.
Okay, thank you. Okay, with that, I'll make a motion to recommend preliminary approval of the plan, subject to the will complies on the 2 consultant letters, again at Fleming and Gilmore. Do we have any other conditions that we're applying?
Commissioner Vines, if I could just.
Yes, sir.
It would be with granting all of the waivers with the exception of the preliminary final. It would just be preliminary, so you would deny that waiver and grant the rest. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you.
So to clarify, it would be will comply by the applicant on the 2 consultant letters, and we would recommend preliminary approval and approval of the requested waivers with the exception of the request for preliminary final.
Thank you.
With that, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Brubaker. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous, and this is with Commissioner Varenhorst having already recused himself.
Thank you all. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, just to wrap up, I think you heard previously that the Wayne Business Overlay District Master Plan is ongoing. I recommend and suggest that you all visit the website, www.avisionforwayne.com, where you can get information and provide your own opinions. With that, I would ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we are adjourned. The next meeting of the Planning Commission is June 2nd, 2026. Thank you.